we all flex. Dripped in diamonds, all the haters saying yes. $10 swagger, yeah, we making impressions. From the block to the top, we rising in succession. Oh yeah, drip, millions, that's how we live.
So by now you've probably all heard about or experienced some of the mania that went down yesterday with this global cyber shutdown. And it really doesn't matter what you believe. I know there's a lot of theories going around about sort of, was it the story they gave us, this Microsoft security update that went wrong, or was there something a little bit more planned and sinister about it? Now, I'm going to get onto that in a minute, what I think. But it really doesn't matter, because what we have learned is that a centralized system has us pretty much all in a vice grip and puts everyone at severe risk, because the hospitals here in the UK, I know it happened a lot in America and across Australia, New Zealand and Europe, the hospital systems were down, the banking systems were down, a lot of people couldn't get cash out of the ATMs. 90% of the flights here in the UK were cancelled out of Gatwick and Stansted, two of the sort of major airports here. So 90% of flights grounded. Pretty much, a lot of the major infrastructure all went down at the same time, thanks to centralization. And it really doesn't matter, which puppet you vote for. Now, a lot of you already know my stance on politics, how it's, in my opinion, for the serf, is to stop everyone from realizing that self-governance is truly the way. But whichever puppet you want, left or right, they all pretty much want the same thing, especially the major parties. They all want more government, more state, more centralization. And if you're someone who, wants an abundant, sovereign, dignified future for you and your family, then we should all be standing on the side of decentralization. And that's not just in finance, but that's pretty much across the board, because decentralized systems protect us from this sort of thing. And if you think I'm talking BS, which I know a lot of you probably don't think that, but if you do think that, tell me one thing. Yesterday, what was business as usual? Bitcoin, Monero, PULSECHAIN, anything decentralized, anything without a manager you can complain to, basically, was business as usual. I could go on to my wallets, check everything. Everything was absolutely fine. Everything was still there. Nothing was offline. That's right, Mini Millions. He agrees with me as well. Everything was business as usual. And in fact, the craziest thing is there was tons and tons of green candles yesterday. So it's funny how, over the last sort of few years, I've been talking to, a lot of, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but normie types that aren't into crypto, everything sort of, standard, bank and whatever they sort of government ISAs and that sort of thing. I've been kind of talking to them about decentralization the last couple of years, and it all seems to sort of go in one ear and out the other. But I actually got 3 messages yesterday from people, one of them New Zealand and a couple of them living in Europe. And they were like, Drip Millions, I now know what you were talking about. I do get it now. They suffered some problems getting money out there. One of them had a flight cancelled. They understand now that decentralization is the future, and we are freaking early right now, very, very early, to the point that most people just have no clue, what's in store. And think about it this way: if your government get their dream come true, which is to fix you up with digital ID, CBDC, carbon credits, social credit score. Now, none of this, unfortunately, is conspiracy. It's all absolutely out there in the open. I wish it was conspiracy, but it really isn't. That's the future they have in line for you if it's accepted. And imagine how easy it would be just to flip that switch if everything's that centralized, shut everything down, and they've basically got a vice grip on you anytime they choose. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying that is what could happen. And we saw yesterday that could be a test run for what's potentially in store, especially for the West. The West is very organized compared to other parts of the world. That's why I'm focusing on getting plan Bs and even a plan C, outside of the West right now. And that's not being alarmist, that's just thinking a few steps ahead. of where this could potentially go, because we saw the mania happen yesterday, and that stuff can happen real fast. So if everyone is, further in the matrix than they are now, with all of these different sort of systems set up where their money can be switched on and off, they've got sort of, everything's tied to social credit score, that could be absolutely devastating, for anyone who's looking to live a free and dignified existence on this beautiful planet. So some food for thought, guys. Crypto, DeFi, business as usual, and definitely some things to consider about the pitfalls of centralization. And I really do think we need to, as a group, be helping spread this message to people that maybe don't quite understand that there is another way. We don't have to necessarily be hooked up to their matrix. I understand that if you wanted to control a global population, you'd want centralization. I totally get it. That's exactly what I would want to do. If I had the inclination that I wanted to control everyone, which I don't, I'm very much an anarcho-capitalist, libertarian, voluntarist. I've got no interest in controlling you, and just my existence, I expect to be left alone. But if I did want to control everyone, I would absolutely 100% want everyone centralized as much as possible. So we need to be thinking about moving far away from these systems, where possible, turning down anything like digital IDs and making a stand on that sort of thing. Because crypto and DeFi, in the digital world, of course, there's other options like cash and precious metals and other ways of transferring wealth and trading and commerce and stuff like that. But digital is not all bad, but it is pretty risky when it's centralized. So there's another way. We can build parallel systems. It's what we're doing right now. It's a beautiful thing to see. I support people like Richard Hart, who are out there fighting the case for decentralization, for true decentralization. I support privacy protocols like Monero, Dero, that sort of thing, absolutely. And even Bitcoin, even though it's not particularly privacy friendly anymore, it's kind of traceable and trackable, and a lot of the Bitcoin bros don't really realize how controllable Bitcoin is, especially now that the big players are involved. But I even support that, obviously, over CBDC'S and stuff like that. So there is another way, guys. We have it. We already have this tech, and it's up to us to adopt it and help spread the adoption of this tech. So I hope you guys all have an absolutely blessed day. I hope you've not been impacted too much by all of this madness that's been going on, and have an absolutely blessed weekend, whatever you're doing. Stay bullish, and I'll see you all in the next video.
From the block to the top, we rising in succession. Oh yeah, drip, drip millions, that's how we live. Drip, drip millions, we the kings of the game.